Welcome to Wet and Worthy Woman, the feral feminine conversations that will obliterate the shame that is in the way of you feeling safe and sacred in your body and in the bedroom. Grab a beverage, we are going deep into the underworld of the dark feminine and reclaiming safety in the most taboo aspects of your womanhood. Drop the fear of being too much, stop feeling numb, bring your pussy to life, and finally stop settling for mediocre intimacy. It is time to be worshipped and adored like a goddess by reclaiming your shameless sexual truth. I'm your host, Charlotte Little, sexual trauma survivor turned liberation leader and yoni massage therapist that's about to awaken your erotic energy. Ow! Hello, amazing community, and welcome to today's conversation, which I'm so excited about. It's going to be spicy. It's going to be outrageous. It's going to be very, 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 very uncensored, because right in front of me now, I have the wonderful Amy. Amy White is the founder of Temple of the Feminine. She's a coach and business mentor, helping women to create pleasure-centered intimacy and reclaim personal power. For recovering good girls ready to awaken erotic embodiment that makes them realize that men would happily pay to worship them. Get ready to bust the good girl out of her cage with kink, sex magic, and a spicy dose of feminine power. Welcome, Amy, to the show. It's so good to have you. Yes, please clap yourself. Anything you want to add to that introduction?
I mean, can you send me it so I can add it to my bio? I just love the way people intro me. I'm like, wow, I've never thought of it like that. But yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I love it. It's like hearing it's like a movie trailer, you know? As if
yeah. Like having it reflected back and you're like, wow, I'm doing all that. Yeah, I really am.
What a cool chick. She's great. I want to be friends with her. Okay, love. Well, a lot of my audience will already know you. I know we have a lot of the same clients as well. A lot of your clients also come to my yoni massage facilitator training, and they add yoni massage into the erotic embodiment that they learn with you. So I love that our communities are so connected. We're both UK girls, and we both love to fuck off what society has told us to be. So I'd love you to tell us a little origin story, talking of movie trailers. How did you birth Temple of the Feminine? How did you become the woman you are today?
Wow, it's an interesting story. It goes back way back in 2016, and my mum passed away. And I had already been on a bit of a sort of spiritual journey. I had trained in Reiki healing, so I was into crystals. Like my mind was opening up to things. I had started meditating and things like that when she passed. And then it kind of catapulted me into this existential crisis, questioning the meaning of life and death, and wanting to see psychics and signs, and, just fully going into that kind of other realm, the other realm of our existence, the other side behind the veil. And I decided to go to India to kind of, find out what this was all about. I was always really drawn to India. I know it's got like a strong sort of spiritual energy and, culture. So I was like, let me just go there and just absorb myself in the practices and the healing modalities and so on and so forth. Anyway, I was in India for 6 months. It was towards the end of the trip. And I remember I was in a yoga school in Goa, and it was very kind of westernized. And I was just like, I feel like I need to go home, but I'm not ready. My friend said, why don't you do a yoga teacher training? I didn't want to be a yoga teacher, but she was like, it'll give you structure. It'll be another thing to do. I kind of wanted to come back as well and start, pursuing a job in Reiki healing and energy healing. I had this idea. I wanted to open up a crystal shop and things like that. So she was like, it would be another string to your bow. It wouldn't be a bad thing to have. And it would give you the structure. And I really enjoyed like the puja and the rituals and things. She was like, it'd give you that. And so I was like, okay, where do I find one of these schools then? She was like, I'll go onto the Yoga Alliance website. I was like, right. I looked up, the first school that came up was like in Rishikesh, which is where I wanted to go back to. And it was started in like a couple of days. and they had like a swimming pool and aircon. And I'm telling you, just by that point, I was just like, I was getting bitten by bed bugs and mosquitoes in Goa. And I was like, yeah, I was just full of grief and I like just uncomfortable in my whole being. So that the thought of those creature comforts was really appealing to me. So I messaged them. They said, we've got one deluxe room available. It's like the rest of my savings. I was like, do you know what? Take it. And anyway, got there, walked in to a Kundalini Tantra yoga teacher training. So it was not about brushing up on your down dog, right? It was, and it was white Tantra, which is like the Kundalini Tantra. So it wasn't about sex, it was about energy work. So we were doing Kriyas every single day. And Kriyas are a combination of like these specific movements using breath and sound and movement to activate certain energy centers and awaken certain energetic qualities. And it happened. I had that experience of a Kundalini awakening, and with it, a massive amount of sexual energy. Like I was like feeling really turned on and horny. It was the most prominent and like profound experience I've had with spiritual practices. Like I was just like this is I have this undeniable change in me. And so, you know, it felt all very sacred and expansive and like, wow, this sexual energy feels all this like light and beautiful. And then I guess when I came back and I started to kind of came back to the UK and sort of see how my like relationship patterns just played out in non-sacred, beautiful ways. I just thought, right, I need to go celibate for a while and work out what the fuck to do with all this energy that I've acquired. Along the way, I started doing workshops. I got really felt really connected to this sense of feminine energy that I had experienced in the Kundalini Tantra training as well. And so I started doing workshops around that, whilst I was doing like the sexuality stuff was a bit more like my own journey in the background. So I went celibate and started learning how to work with this energy. And I was holding, you know, yoga classes, women's circles, workshops and things around feminine energy and, you know, movement and, you know, all the qualities that we know to be around like bringing the feminine energy, resurrecting the feminine energy. And then as I just started developing on my own journey, so that's how Temple of the Feminine landed. It would have been maybe like a year after returning to India and like finding my way through different practices and things that I was like, I'm landing on this brand and it's like I want to support women in connecting to feminine energy. And then, you know, part and parcel of that is sexuality, and that was what was happening behind the scenes. And then I started to go really deep into my relationship to sex. I've got a lot of trauma going back growing up, but to the point where I was so repressed that I would just be like, I'm fine, it doesn't bother me, it doesn't impact me. When you start to open up Pandora's box and start to heal, it all starts to come up. So I was doing all of that like alongside, and then it was like almost 12 months to the day of being celibate that I went to a tantra weekend event in London, and I met this guy who was quite far along in practicing tantra and tantric sex, and we became lovers. And he introduced me. He was like my first person after being celibate, and he kind of introduced me to this way of like moving energy and being intentional and being conscious in lovemaking. And it showed me just how many like holding patterns I had, and like how I would hold my breath and like lose presence. It's just a real mirror. Like when you bring it into consciousness, you're like, wow, I'm really doing all of that. So that was another like real eye-opening thing of like, there's so much here for me to work on and to learn. I want more. I was hungry for it. So, but this is how Temple of the Feminine landed. To put it, to wrap it up in a nice, neat bow. But there's been many chapters and evolution since. And what's interesting is, I would say just for myself, I went deep into New Age spirituality and sexuality. Probably I've been slightly in some places, schools that have been labeled cults, you know. I was really deep in, and I probably consider myself a little bit further out of that now. Personally and professionally. And my Instagram account got deleted last year, and towards it being deleted, it's come back now. But I was thinking to myself, I don't resonate with that title anymore, Temple of the Feminine, because it felt very tied to feminine energy in the way that I was embodying and teaching it. nearly 10 years ago now, right? And so I was feeling a bit conflicted, and I opened up a new account. I couldn't use that name anyway because I'd been wiped, but I used my own name, and I was sort of like in this sort of transition of like this quite like identity crisis, because it sounds really trivial, but my brand is a huge part of me and my journey as well. And then I went on this I was deepening this journey around my relationship to like sex and money and power, like in the real shadow world, like with men and things as well. And part of that will come onto like the dominatrix piece. And it's almost like come full circle. When my account come back round, Temple of the Feminine actually felt like it really integrated this like clean dominatrix power woman energy that is now integrating into my work. And I was like, no, actually it fits. So we're still with the Temple of the Feminine here.
Amazing. Thank you, love. And I love your work particularly, and it resonates with me particularly because I think so many of us and so many people listening will have also been on that journey where, you know, some kind of grief, trauma, heartbreak initiates you onto the path. And you probably get asked all the time, because I get asked all the time, like, how did you end up doing sexuality work with women? And I'm like, it was like the worst fucking day of my life that initiated, you know, that was like, I was in India, and yeah, you probably know my story a little bit, but I experienced a really violent sexual trauma in India, and that's what initiated my path. So people are like, oh my God, how do you have this amazing business and you run retreats and you teach women these things and I'm like, it was the darkest night of my life, you know, like that brings us into this beauty and this power. Yeah. And then I think we do go through that rite of passage where we swing really far into the like, everything's sacred, everything's like divine, and let me like make everything a ritual. And now I see you and I on the side where we're like, oh, fuck it, let's just have a good time.
Yeah, pretty much, because, you know, like you said, the journey is quite a hard one. You know, I didn't sort of decide, oh, I want to be a women's sexual empowerment coach. I went through this, it's almost felt like it was a sort of out of my hands in a way. I guess I wanted to do women's work and empowerment work, but the sexuality piece, like having to come forward in that, and like other people being like, you weren't doing this or talking about this or showing up like this, like it's actually a real baptism of fire. To then, it's like, you know, you go for a really crunchy period, people just think, oh, she's just confident, she must love it. You're like, no, I just kind of feel like I have no choice. I have to do this work, and to do it I have to really, and you're embodying it anyways, but like you kind of like letting like I felt like I was shedding a skin, like literally like taking off like my old skin suit and being like, now I'm this different person. The same, it's like, why more me? You know, the masks and the performance and the conditioning is starting, you know, has fallen away and is still falling away. And but also, you know, when it is hard one and you are go trawling through the trauma, you want to latch on to the safety of sacred and of practices, and, you know, all that's, you know, all the things that keep you together and support you in healing. And then there comes to a point where you're like, I don't really need it anymore. I don't need the stabilizers. I don't need the they're stabilizers. I'm thinking of the one when you're on a bike and you need the stabilizers. I don't need them anymore. You can take them off. Yeah, I can just live life now, you know, like I've kind of come out the other side. Knowing that I've got all of this stuff that I can return to and lean on when I need to, but I can stand like on my own and not just stand on my own, but I want to kind of like propel, you know, from this place, you know, and enjoy, like get everything out of life, like squeeze like the juice out of life, you know. And I think those things come in ebb and flows. It's not linear. It's not like, oh wow, I've done so much work, I'm here. It's like, this is just the chapter of life that I'm in, that I just don't really feel like I need to be in healing workshops all the time anymore, you know.
Oh my God, thank fuck also for the
or self-optimizing. I don't really need to I don't really feel the call to self-optimize. If something comes up in my life and I'm like, oh, I want to work on this or da da da, but there was times that it's like I was just looking for things to fix and heal, looking for issues.
Totally. Like the self-development world has become an addiction for so many people, and it's become, and yeah, I definitely went through that as well, like digging for the next trauma to heal, the next childhood wound to look at. And I
Yeah,
don't dig anymore. I let it arise naturally because life will fucking do that anyway. So why make
exactly.
it so much more painful? Like life is going to bring us things, especially romantic relationship is going to bring us things. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
You made a really good segue there about I don't need the stabilizers anymore. And so I wanted to ask you on that note of like clinging to safety and wearing these masks, who is the good girl that you see so much coming to your spaces, coming to your work? And how do we know if the good girl is completely fucking controlling our life? Like, what are the symptoms of being a good girl? How do we know if she's here, like,
Yeah.
unconsciously having control of us?
Well, I can speak to that for myself, because this relationship to the good girl is what I've seen in myself, and what I've kind of been going through in working with myself and meeting in myself. And I see it. Yeah, I see it. I feel like women are conditioned to be good. And what I mean by that, this good girl conditioning, it's this sort of mask or behavior that we have. And if I could summarize it, it's when we abandon, ignore, disconnect from, or override our own wants, needs, and desires in order to make other people feel comfortable, in order to be liked or loved, or in order to be accepted. Okay. And so whenever we do that, the good girl is coming through. The good girl is so disconnected from what she wants and needs, or so suppressed in that she would rather be uncomfortable in herself and deny what she really wants than risk upsetting other people. And I feel like the self-development spaces and spiritual, new age spirituality spaces are quite rife with good girl behavior, because they almost enable it. Well, they enable it, right? You know, there's a lot of women who are in the spiritual and new age space feel very intuitive, right? And empathetic, right? But what the flip side of this can be hypervigilance. So what we pride ourselves in the spiritual world, in spiritual communities, and the spiritual industry, right? In when we have careers, about being able to intuit what other people are thinking and feeling, right? I no longer see that as a quality I want to have. I want to be able to connect and intuit what I am thinking and feeling first and foremost. Because good girl behavior, the good girl conditioning trains you. We've been trained and programmed to be hyper vigilant to everybody else's needs and feelings and emotions and reactions, to the point we will constantly be trying to guess how they might think and feel. I speak about this, about you're getting involved in someone else's experience whilst abandoning your own. You have to be, and I use the 80-20 rule, 80% with yourself and 20% with the field, because the field isn't going to take care of you. The only and that is as a facilitator. You should not be deeply in tune with your field unless you are 80% rooted in your inner world. Because if your inner world isn't taken care of and isn't connected to, there is no field. It collapses, right? And I think that we've got it wrong in thinking that it's like, wow, I'm so gifted that I can guess what this person needs before they know themselves. It's like, what do you need? Yeah, just come back to yourself, right? And it is a gift, right? Don't get me wrong. Okay, I'm only just speaking to the flip side of it, because there is a gift in that, and that's what makes a lot of women great space holders. But we've got to check on that good girl conditioning of where we're abandoning ourselves and glorifying that abandonment as part of our job or our role as a mother or a lover or a friend or a space holder, a coach. It's like, actually, if you don't take care of what's going on in your inner world, nobody outside can even know what you want and need. And, you know, if we was to really summarize what the good girl conditioning does is it creates incongruence. So there is an incongruence between what's happening in the inner world and how you're presenting in the outer world. It used to be a really common thing to for women to just sort of say like, oh, I don't really need anything, you know, like I'm fine, I don't need anything. Like we absolutely have needs, basic human needs. And the more we kind of develop and evolve, the bigger our needs get, actually, the more acute our needs get. So having needs doesn't actually make you difficult or high maintenance. Remember that's a phrase that we get put on, that women get told we are if we need things. It's actually being so true to your inner world and living from that place, because incongruence, right, actually creates a lack of safety, right? Safety is created by congruence. So if we take that to like a sexual space, like sex, if I'm saying, oh yeah, that's fine, oh, this feels good, and my inner world is like, this is uncomfortable, I'm having to brace and contract to endure this, there is incongruence, and I've created an unsafe space, because the shadow part of that is I'm enduring and they're doing, right? We're not in a mutual loving, but they think I'm fine and enjoying it and having this mutual loving connection, but I'm actually making them almost like a perpetrator. Like I'm making them, they're doing something to me that I don't want them to do, but they have no idea. Okay. So the good girl actually could be quite dangerous, right? It creates unsafe spaces for herself and for others. But it's so, and I don't want to demonize it because it's this behavior that we all have, but also I feel like we need to really pull it out of the shadows and not mollycoddle it and say, look, it needs to, you know, we need to eradicate this, and we need to have congruence between what's actually happening in our inner world and how we're expressing and communicating that into the outer world and into our relationships and the field that we are co-creating or existing in or even holding as space holders, right? And I'll pause there for a minute.
Your throat was like more, but then also
a breath.
Thank you. That was a fucking epic transmission. Yeah, it really made me think about this quote I posted recently on Instagram, which is like, you don't need to regulate your nervous system. You need to start saying no when you're not ready for someone to enter your pussy. Absolutely. And it's like that depth and connection that women are aching for. Women in my world are coming to me a lot. My clients, my community, my facilitators that are training with me, they're craving something slower, deeper, more sacred in the bedroom. And if we're lying to someone and we're not enjoying it, that connection that we're hungry for is never gonna be fucking available. Never. The connection that is the deepest is the truth. And I think for women, we find it so hard to wrap our heads around this. And honestly, it takes so much courage. It takes so much bravery. But Jesus, the reward of connection, whether that's in sisterhood, in family, with your clients, with your lover, to get so radically honest in the bedroom creates so much trust. And after I met my husband, I ran a online program called Enchantress, where I interviewed him about what it was in the bedroom that happened between us on a one-night stand in Spain that has now evolved into us being married and living together, and him pursuing me to England again and again and again, like flying for fucking 12 hours to the middle of nowhere in England to get to me. And he said,
Priestess, witch, medicine woman, it is time to stand out. It's time to be a wealthy healer. It's time to be a rich witch. It's time to 10 times your impact, because your magic is way too big to be recording Zoom courses. Your soul work is meant to be magnetic as fuck, and yet here you are, an incredibly skilled and powerful healer, the first woman in your family line to step into leadership. You're changing lives, but you're stuck charging $30 for your workshops. I'm wondering why you can't escape your soul-sucking day job, replace your income, and finally be a full-time witch. Well, my love, hands-on holding of women's most traumatized body parts is undeniable. It's the most transformational and needed sacred tool in the self-development space, and barely anyone is doing it. So if you're ready to take your clients beyond surface level healing and become the woman who knows how to create safety in another woman's nervous system with her hands, then intimate bodywork is for you. And if you're a facilitator that is not yet including women's intimate body parts, her vagina, her yoni, in your work, then you're avoiding the root of her pain. Because most of the shame, the shadows, the trauma that are in her way are stored here, inside the part of her body that has been ignored, silenced, violated, and rushed for lifetimes. You're here to serve. You're here to lead. You're here to hold. And after Priestess, my 3-month yoni massage facilitator training, you can get paid well for your soul work by offering a premium healing service that stands the fuck out in the entire self-development industry. You will become certified in trauma-informed yoni massage and take your leadership from I help women feel powerful to I change their relationship with their body forever. If you know you're here to help women with sexual healing and you want to do work that AI can never ever fucking replace and you're done with the mediocre paycheck, then this training is for you. To remember the priestess, the witch, and the medicine woman that you are always here to be. We begin in February 2027. The 2026 cohort filled up so fucking fast, my love. I have very limited spots for this training, and the application waitlist just opened. So apply now. The link is in the show notes, or go to thewildfemme.com/priestess and I will personally get back to your application. I cannot wait to share this gift with you, to share this work with you. I love you so much for even considering this. Women in the world need this, want this, are hungry for it, and you're going to be the iconic witch that can hold them back to the safety they've always ached for. So, see you inside, Priestess.
It was because I could trust you in the bedroom, because you told me, like, he could just see that I was in my truth because I told him what I needed. I told him my expectations. If we were going to have this one night stand, which turned into a marriage, then what I needed from that, which was, I really would like you to stay the night. I can't just fuck and then disappear. And I didn't fake it. You know, I asked for adjustments if I needed it. I was honest. And he said, you know, that created so much trust in the bedroom, in intimacy, that I knew that you wouldn't fake it to enjoy yourself because you were being so honest about all your needs. Yeah. That then I could relax and have a 10 times more orgasmic experience than I'd ever experienced with any woman in my whole life, because I didn't have to be in my head thinking, am I doing it right? Is she enjoying it? Am I impressing her? So like on both sides, when there's truth, when we're no longer suppressing that need or that desire, there's so much honesty and truth that everyone can let the fuck go. Yeah. And I think we're very good at saying, you know, men are selfish lovers, for the heterosexual woman listening that make love to men, that struggle with thinking that men don't care about their pleasure because they're not educated in our pleasure. We are the ones to educate, you know, like, yeah. I think every man has the capacity to be an incredible lover if we are being inviting into the realms of pleasure that we discover within ourselves first. Yes. And that's where the good girl kind of chokes, because she has to discover herself, which means being a little bit selfish, which means, yeah, oh my God, what are people going to think of me if I prioritize my pleasure and I find out what I want so that I can then tell them and own my needs. But owning your needs and getting your needs met really starts with yourself. And this is where I see women coming to our spaces when they're like, oh, I get to have this. I get to receive this. And oh my God, I have to be kind of responsible for that. and I have to own that, and it starts with me.
Yeah, because, you know, we should be the experts in our own bodies in all ways, you know, and having that connection and expertise will only serve in the bedroom, but also in medical spaces and, you know, just your general like life, how you navigate life, being the expert in your own body and being attuned to your own body. That doesn't mean you close off and don't learn new things or experience new things, but expecting someone else to discover your pleasure for you is like handing your power over, right? And it's getting you also into spaces where if somebody does give you amazing pleasure, you may overlook other incompatibilities because you assign your pleasure to that person rather than saying, wow, that was a really beautiful experience, but I can also give myself beautiful experiences. So there needs to be more than that for me to then want to pursue or continue and carry on with this person. So it allows you, kind of like loosens the grip of chemistry and sexual attraction as being like the driving force for being with someone, even if other things are incompatible, you know. But I also want to say about this, like, good girl conditioning, it is a survival mechanism. You know, there's points, particularly in the past and in our kind of like, you know, ancestry and history of women, but also very current. It's not even that far removed. It's in our current experience where being polite and appeasable and compliant saves our lives, right? And even then, that imprint within us carries through. So when we are faced, and you know, the thing is, if you can master cracking through your good girl behaviors in the bedroom, a lot of the other stuff is going to feel like a breeze, because when you're in the bedroom, you're in a high space of charge. Maybe similar things are almost if you're in an aggressive situation, right? Like sexual spaces, like the charge is high. We're holding a lot of shame, a lot of performance, a lot of expectation. We're already maybe entering into altered states of consciousness with our pleasure. So being able to communicate and catch that in those moments, it's not easy, right? It does take practice and tools, but it really strengthens the muscle very quickly. It's like lifting huge, like, you know, doing like a short rep of like huge weights rather than like walking around with ankle weights for 3 months. You know, you're gonna strengthen it pretty quickly in the bedroom. But that's not to say it's not easy, because you will start to feel visceral nervous system reactions when the feeling of I need to say something comes up. But if you want to feel erotically alive and feel your pleasure expanded and like to kind of to achieve your pleasure and erotic capacity, you have to do that. Because when you think, like, if I go back to that example of, you know, being in the bedroom and being touched or kissed or penetrated in ways that you're not ready for, you're not enjoying, or you're not comfortable with, or what, for whatever reason your body is a no, your body has to create holding patterns and contractions to endure it, to get through it. And the more you hold and contract your body, the more your body stays in that state. And what we want to have this erotic aliveness running through us, and this energetic flow and this openness and this power, is we want to let go of those holding patterns. And those holding patterns would have been building up for all your life. So every time you do it, you're adding a new drop of that pattern, that holding pattern, to your body. So what we want to work on is unwinding it. And the minute you say no, although your nervous system might be rattling, those holding patterns don't need to come in. Yeah. Right. And you give your body space to not have to contract. Right. And we can work with the nervous system, but a built up body that's become tense and tight because of the endurance that it's had to go through is a lot harder to unravel than a nervous system that just needs to get used to saying no.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. You're right. When you do it in the bedroom, you can do it fucking anywhere. You can say no to your boss that's asking you for more overtime. You can say no to your sister that wants you to babysit for the fourth weekend in a row. Like, you can say no in so many other places. And this is why I'm so passionate, and yoni massage has become the biggest area of my work, because that's the space where I'm holding a woman and the nervous system reacts the same way, you know, like she's naked with me on a bed. And so even though I'm not doing any sexual touch to her body, I'm holding the part of her body that has created the most holding patterns, because we do this so often intimately. And I'm encouraging her to say no to me, and we are practicing that no, and we are exploring the boundaries whilst I'm massaging out the holding patterns that have been stored in the tissues of the vulva and the vagina. And it just I've seen it again and again. I've given 88 yoni massages now, and trained 15 women this year in my trauma-informed yoni massage method for sexual trauma survivors. And I see it almost every time that a woman comes to me. Like, we're talking 100 women, and I've seen nearly every single one walk away and realize that there was a strong holding pattern controlling their sex life. And that they actually want something completely different from what they were ever saying before. But the body normally has to feel it for us to even know what to ask for, which is why you need to come to mine and Amy's spaces, because you have to feel it in your body, in your nervous system, to then know that it's possible to actually ask for that. And it makes it much easier to express that need. I've found with my clients, if they've somatically experienced it with themselves first, then it's much easier to ask for it. There's a bit less resistance. Well,
you know, this work does take practice. You know, I would never have just arrived to this without the trainings and the processes and the therapies and the coaching and things that I've gone through. You know, I just wouldn't have even been aware. The light of awareness would not even have been on my behaviors. I would have probably just been that person who said, I just don't really need much. I'm just, you know, I'm fine. Oh, I don't mind. And I want to actually speak to that, right? Because there's a really important distinction, particularly when we're talking about like good girl conditioning, is that the opposite of good girl conditioning isn't withdrawing or putting walls up or always saying no, right? If it's congruent, right? And let's talk about in the bedroom in sex, it doesn't mean you never give, right? Or you never like receive, you know, like openly and wildly. There can be something so beautiful about like being in service to your partner if it's congruent with how you're feeling. If you want to get on your knees and oral for hours and you're like, yes, I just want to give this to my partner, like, beautiful. Absolutely nothing wrong. There's also nothing wrong with me, like, I'm not massively up for it, but I know you want, like, let's just do it, you know, come on, I could get in the mood. There's really nothing wrong with that, you know? It's congruent, right? And you can even say like, oh, you know, I'm not totally feeling like it, can we do a bit of this? And like, you know, I think like we got to let that little play and that like ease of chat come through. Otherwise it feels very serious and very confronting to be like, no, I don't want to do this. And we can swing between, you know, between like saying nothing and then coming through with some really sort of like harsh walls. And sometimes we have to swing that pendulum, and that's just part of the process. And it's just, you know, this isn't a click. This is going to be messy. Working through the good girl stuff is going to be messy, but there can be a place where you're just like, oh, I'm not really in that sexual space right now. Like, and it's just not that deep, right? Because you've got this understanding with your lover or your partner that it's like, it's not personal. It's not an attack on them, or it doesn't mean anything about your love for them. You're just not feeling it. And it just becomes part of your language, and it's fine. And then it gives you so much like trust and space to then really lean in when you are, and then for them to know that when you are in it, you're fully in it. And when you're not, they'll know you're not. And it just becomes as easy as, do you want Thai tonight or not? You know? But we have a lot of emotional baggage around sex, understandably. That's why we've got practitioners in this field and not practitioners in what takeaway we should choose tonight. You know, it's a very different thing. But we can take some of the emotional charge out of these things when we just start talking about them and normalizing them. You know, normalizing that women don't need to be sexually available all the time to anyone, you know. Whereas I think we have this kind of default, and men will have their own defaults, right? Something that I realized about men, or realized about myself and my perspective of men, is that I've always handed them the power. Like, they like sex most, they're confident in bed, they use women, like all these sorts of beliefs that I had fed this idea that I had no power and no stakes, and that they were these confident, well-formed beings, which they're not, because none of us are. And they come in with their own insecurities. You know, a lot of women that I work with, and a lot of my past experiences, is a bit like, men are just hard and fast and jackhammer away. And it's like, a lot of that time it's anxiety. They're afraid to lose their erection. You know, they're afraid that you're not enjoying it. They're afraid to go slow and for you to be bored. Most men are so focused on trying to please the woman by guessing what the woman wants. Again, they're people pleasers. They're people pleasers themselves. And that we're just in this space, we're just trying to please each other. And neither's really thinking, am I enjoying it? Am I enjoying it? Like, what needs to happen so we could both enjoy this, you know? And I'll tell you what needs to happen. You both need to know and take responsibility for your own pleasure and communicating it, and then come together in that space and verbalize when it's not working, it's not feeling good, or how to do things differently. And sometimes it's rolling it back and just being like, sitting on the bed and being like, right, what actually do you like? What actually does turn you on? Like, what pace, what rhythm, what fantasies, what moves, what words, like, what is it that works? What do you want to bring in? What do you want to throw out? Like, let's just talk about it. What are we actually enjoying in this space, and where can we meet in this like beautiful, juicy middle?
Yeah, thank you for the relational sex tips. I love this. And I think that my partner said something so interesting a few days ago that I want to bring in, which is really funny from the masculine perspective. Let's bring them into the conversation for a moment as well, like you beautifully just did. He said, like, I'm starting to realize that women want something harder than most men. That women are kind of craving this daddy figure to come in, to take control, to help them to surrender, you know, to, like, most women are like, oh my God, just take care of me. I'm done with handling it all on my own. Tell me no, don't put up with my bullshit, like, dominate me a bit, lead, hold me, contain me in a healthy sense. And like, so women are kind of looking for this daddy figure to be like, yeah, spank me and tell me off for all my bullshit and my brat behavior. And the masculine are actually coming in being like, the world is so fucking hard on us. Please treat me gently. Please stroke me slowly. Please be like kind and loving to my body. I need to, like, this is my calm down space. Like, the whole world expects me to be strong and fierce and like on it and performing and providing. Like, just with a woman, can I let the fuck go? Can I finally have something more gentle than when I'm with my bros and they want to like fight about this, or, you know, go like do adrenaline sports? Like, no, this is very stereotyping, by the way, what men do. I'm sure they do a lot more activities than house building and adrenaline sports. But yeah, it was an interesting take. And yeah, this leads us on beautifully to your recent sharings. So we're going all the way from the good girl to the dominatrix now, because recently your work has taken you on interesting explorations with men, I believe.
Yes.
And noticing that we are so good at pleasing men, but actually men might want to be bent over and told what to do themselves. So can you introduce us to this narrative that you're bringing at the moment of reminding women that there is this dominatrix in them that is kind of the antidote and the medicine, I guess, to this good girl behavior.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny because when you said that, and I'm just going to plant the seed. You said that about your partner, not plant seed about your partner, just for the listeners. I think we'd be surprised at whether men want to dominate or be dominated. I think you'd be quite surprised. And what's surprising about it is because as well, when I talk about those beliefs that I realized I was carrying around men, I assume that they're dominant. I give them the dominance, right? Like they hold the power, and they abuse power, and they abuse dominance. And I think a lot of men would just actually like to be bent over and told who's boss and that it's not them. And when you actually realize that and sit in that space, you're like, oh, they're not actually like these brutes after all. They all have this like tender need to surrender and let go and not be in control and give up, like hand their trust over to you. Okay. So there's so much to say about the dominatrix energy, because it is a interrelational dynamic, but I also am teaching it now as a kind of archetypal energy that women can tap into, that I think is such a key piece in like the feminine energy embodiment world, that particularly women who run businesses could really benefit from, in holding clean power. Okay. Because the feminine energy, we're like, oh, it's like messy and chaotic, and it's like we're in our anger, we're in our feels. And I really like that the dominatrix, I'm going to start, my body's going to start changing, and they're like, everything's going to start like, but it's like actually being directive and in charge and in control. But the thing about the dominatrix is she's meeting needs of other people without abandoning herself.
Sacred woman, I need to invite you to touch your vagina. Yes, you heard me. This is the practice that changed my entire life. De-armoring, or yoni mapping, is the process of applying still, loving touch to specific energetic points on the inside and outside of your vagina and your vulva to release the trauma from the past that keeps you stuck in loops of sexual shame, faking it, pretending you can feel something whilst feeling numb as fuck in the bedroom. De-armoring allows you to release the past, the memories in your body of all the times that you were rushed, forced, and things were too fast. These create micro tears in the tissues of your vagina. Just like a knot in your shoulder, your beautiful pussy also stores tension. We are not taught that she needs love, not just sex. She needs to be held. And de-armoring is so life-changing because it is the ancient massage practice that allows you to hold this part of your body with no agenda, solely love. This will create a deep sacred bond with your body, one that allows you to actually feel when you're ready to be penetrated, so that you can hold better standards and better boundaries in the bedroom and have your body met in ways that are so deeply pleasurable and also feeling fucking sacred and not pushed or unmet or unsatisfied in the bedroom anymore. So I'm inviting you into Wise Nectar, my de-armoring program, where I have recorded you 4 bespoke journeys to release the trauma, the tension, the numbness, and the painful memories from your sexual past and be reborn into a beloved, deep, true, real, sacred connection with your pussy. It's time to claim the sex life and the bond with your body that you have always deserved. And it's only £4 to £7 because every woman deserves access to this practice. It will change your life. It will allow you to feel things you never thought you can feel. So the link's going to be in the show notes for you, my love. Please give yourself this time to just spend 45 minutes in stillness with your body to feel what she's ready to let go of. I love you. You're so brave for saying yes to this.
Okay, so when you are holding, and that's what is really powerful in business, right? Because if we talk about like good girl energy, we're stepping into space holding. We're stepping into an element of caring, right? Caretaking, nurturing, healing. Okay, and how to kind of keep our good girl in check is to come into our dominatrix energy. And I think I know for myself, before I really explored this, the word dominatrix came with all sorts of associations and connotations. Like it was like latex and whips and bondage, and it doesn't even really need to be an act. It's almost like an energetic holding, like an energy that you hold, like a command. And it's the energy that we hold when we space hold and when we don't lose ourselves and we take someone into a deep healing or altered state, which happens in healing, happens in like self-pleasure and sex magic. And you're holding that with such precision and such care, but without losing yourself. Like that's dominatrix energy, you know? And that's what you do when you dom someone, you know, when you're dominated. Because also when I started talking about this online, people were like, oh, I'd love to just tell men off and treat them like shit for money. And I'm like, I get it. That's not what's happening here, right? We don't spill out as a dominatrix. That's what I really love. There's actually containment. And in my experience of feminine energy, it was all about being uncontained, right? Almost like losing the containers and losing inhibitions, which I needed and still need to have a very visceral experience of. So because my cages before were conditioning and limiting, but now my containment is the channel with which my energy can be concentrated and go to the right places. So my feminine energy has a vessel in which it can live and where I can direct it according to where I want it to go and what I'm doing in that moment. And I really just love the way that this is shifted in me. There's so many different flavors of dom as well. If you were doming someone, and it's not all, it's never uncontained, right? It's holding space in the way that you would hold space with a client, right? But it's not always aggressive or abusive or violent. Take violent out of that, or physical, physical pain. It can be psychological, or it can be kind of nurturing, caretaking. That's my good boy. Well done. Praise, like a praise dom. And it's just you holding the power. But the power, with power comes responsibility. And I really love that learning as well. Because when I have also been deep in feminine energy, at work and embodiment, at times it has taken me away from running a business, sorting out like real sort of like, like shying away from like life responsibilities. Oh, I'm just in my feminine. I don't want to pay bills. It's like, no. This is responsible power, holding that pole. I think really integrated something for me in the feminine energy, being able to see myself as like a dominatrix and hold the energy of a dominatrix and have that experience and continue to embody that energy has given me something that I needed that wasn't there when I was just working with feminine energy. And I think it's a really beautiful thing. And it's a space that a lot of women probably don't see themselves in. But I think that, I think that we can claim it and step into it. I'm not talking about this as going out and being a dominatrix as a job, but just claiming power, clean power, not even calling it empowerment, claiming power over someone. Yeah, we really don't feel comfortable with saying that. But you hold the power over your clients in those moments. And when we don't really see that and pull it out of the shadow, it stays in shadow, right? We do hold an element of power when we are healing, coaching. And I think, the wording may not resonate with people, but the energy's still there. And if we don't learn how to hold clean power without spilling out, then the space gets murky. And so I think dominatrix energy really helps. Not only that, dominatrix energy really helps you to know your own boundaries and where you're going to go, because you're going to have a submissive who's like, yeah, take me there. This is what I want. But just because they want it, it doesn't mean you have to do it. And part of the, it's like, I remember just playing in a space with somebody who wanted me to flog them. And I was flogging them and they were really enjoying it. And I was like really getting in it. It gets very rhythmic. And what happened is I lost myself. Yeah. Because I was just sort of like in their experience. And then somebody said their skin's going to break on there. And I was like, I went into a bit of a panic as I paused. And I didn't even realize. And they were fine with it, but I wasn't fine with it. I wasn't fine with inflicting that on someone that's outside of my boundaries. But I was lost in their experience, abandoned myself to meet their needs. So that's not a good dom. That's not a good dominatrix. And I went into a bit of a nervous system response because I had lost myself and lost my boundaries. And that's a really good example of, dominatrix isn't just doing what the sub wants. It isn't just spilling out and doing what you want. It is holding a level of clean power that attunes that where you stay with your body and your needs and your boundaries and your limits, and then creating a space where you can take your sub or whoever's in your field to their limits within your own capacity, within your boundaries.
Yeah, thank you. I feel the energy inside of me particularly strong. And I think that it's really powerful to claim this as an archetype, because so many of the women seeking more feminine energy would shame this part of themselves and be like, oh, it's my masculine. I'm so in my masculine. Well, maybe you're in your fucking healthy dominatrix and you're actually getting shit done. And that also feels good, And so I think it's a really powerful archetype to play with, to hold ourselves with as well. And a lot of my friends know that I call it, for me, my inner daddy, like this sexy daddy inside of me who like gets, runs this epic business and gets shit together. And I have a Virgo moon. I'm very like structure and organization is like on it. And so I do love this energy, and it's something I can sense when a woman has gone really into her feminine chaos and it doesn't feel super safe anymore. If you're trying to meet up with your friend and she's one of those chaotic friends that's like not confirming with you at all, is she coming tonight? I don't know. What time is she coming? Where are you meeting? Nothing's been confirmed yet. It's like all floaty. I love having people in my life that are like, yeah, cool, see you tomorrow, done, and like that's a really minor example, but just this energy of a woman who's got herself, who's got power over her life, not being this victim that's collapsing under all of this responsibility, but that's holding responsibility. And I think it's a really important conversation that you're bringing to space holders and facilitators, because it's not just about the intuitive magic that we have when we're holding the space. It's not just about the creative magic we have when we're creating content, but like, how responsible are we for that container? And an example you could think of is if you're running a women's circle and one woman is just like completely taking over with her share, and it's like traumatizing the group because she's maybe sharing very intimate, vivid details of some abuse that might have happened in her life. And how can we as space holders step in with the dominatrix energy of loving nurture to protect the space of the group, and to give everyone equal opportunity to be part of the sharing, and not let one person like run with the feminine emotional chaos and completely like overtake the space and drown the space. And I think that it's a really important skill as space holders to bring in the dom. So I wonder if you've got some tips for us on how we can find that dominatrix energy within us.
Well, yeah, because one of the things that I wanted to say as well that this energy really brings is the ability to express desires, make requests, and receive, right? The Dom will say, okay, now you can kiss my feet. You may, right? There's like a queen energy in it as well, right? And, you know, ways that I would suggest bringing this in is to, first of all, you have to start connecting to your inner world. You have to know, you have to dig deep. Pressing my mic again. You have to, it's because it's on, my mic is on my chest and I keep putting my hands to my chest. You have to dig deep and get really real with yourself and say, what is going on in my inner world? And what is going on in my outer world? Like, how am I expressing myself to the outer world? And are they congruent? And if not, how can I make them congruent? First of all, get really real. What do you want? What do you not want? Like, what is your desires? Go a bit deeper. Like, what are the things that you wish nobody knew, but you really secretly want? Like, you know, things like, oh, I just want to fucking be paid to do nothing. Like, you know, or like, what is the thing that you're afraid people are going to know because you don't want them to think badly of you? Get it all out, dig it out. Come on, shadow work, put it on the table. Then start practicing the lower stakes requests in real life. And it, you know, there's a finesse with it. Always move from your heart, right? Always move in connection, you know, and so always move from your heart, always maintain the connection with someone. And what I mean by this is there's a difference between bringing your dominatrix energy and saying to the waiter, hey, I'm just wondering, this isn't on the menu. Can you go and ask for me if we could bring this as a dish on the menu, please? And that's not, there's a way that you can do that is overbearing or is not attuned to the dynamic of power that is bossing somebody who is, you know, just probably earning minimum wage, an hour wage, bossing them, making them do more work, you know, and just sort of like abusing your position as customer to make someone do more work. And then there's a way of engaging with someone that can actually, they'll probably quite enjoy going back and be like, yeah, oh my God, hold on. Let me just go and check and I'll come back. And you're like, I really appreciate that. You're a really good waiter, you know? And do you see what I did there? I didn't say, oh, thank you so much. Oh, please. Is this, do you mind? Would it be okay? If not, don't worry. No worries if not. No. I would really love, do you know what I would really love? I would really love a risotto with mushrooms, but you only have the tomato risotto. I wondered if you could just go back there and do me a solid and ask, would they be able to do me a mushroom risotto? Just like clean, like practice requesting and expressing your desires with clean energy and be really receptive to people who say no. You know, they might be like, no, I'm sorry, we don't do that. Okay. And leave it there. Like, try not to, it's a skill to stop over explaining, over justifying, and over apologizing for your requests. And I would say as a first point of call, going around and doing that, and notice how you feel. Notice when you start to feel shaky, and notice if you can just adjust your body to hold the energy of that which you're putting out. Get congruent. So as much as we can try and we can get congruent in the sense of checking what is going on inside of ourselves and expressing it out. When we express it out, if our body starts to feel shaky and unbalanced because it's new and it feels scary, train your body to feel steady and centered. And this is where it differs a little bit from feminine energy, because, you know, when we work with the feminine energy, it's like movement and embodiment and flowing, and we're like, and that's so necessary. It isn't either or, it's both, right? But there is something about a center. I speak about this, like the pelvis being like the pendulum, right? And it's like the pendulum can swing. And it's like when we want to hold dominatrix energy, we want the pendulum in the middle, right? It might have a little sway, but you want your pendulum to come, everything is clear. You know, you're coming from a very clear space, centered space, and you want your nervous system, your embodied, like your embodiment to come from that centered space. And that is, so embodiment isn't just moving wildly, right? And making lots of sort of exaggerated gestures. Embodiment is stillness. If you're embodying this centered, directive energy, that's embodiment as well. You know, so embody the dominatrix energy, this precision, right? And this like very clean power that we have access to. But go and start making, get real with what you want, and then start with the lower stakes, you know, the things that aren't as edgy, and start making some requests, you know, play with it. Practice your Dom voice in the mirror. Dom yourself, you know, notice like how you want to embody that energy. You know, if you watch it on the video, my posture starts to change, you know, my spine gets taller, my shoulders drop back. That's the embodiment of the dominatrix energy for me. And you might have another flavor of it, right? You know, the head mistress, right? Mine is more sort of like the dame who has her young lovers around her. That's my kind of archetype, right? Or you might want to be like that, the strict, you know, like mistress, or just see what one you want to bring out and play with it. Let it be fun. Let it be a fun archetype that you kind of take on.
Yeah, really powerful, really, really powerful. And I felt that probably a lot of women listening would even be feeling things just in that example of like going to the restaurant and asking for something that's not on the menu. I am getting so fucking good at this. Also, I moved to Spain last year, so I'm having to do it in another language most of the time, which adds to the edge for me because I'm not the most confident in my Spanish, but I can order a cocktail in Spanish. And so I love an espresso martini, and I don't drink alcohol very often. And when I go to have a drink, I want the drink I want, you know, I don't drink often. It's a special occasion. I want my drink in that. If I'm going for alcohol, then I want the drink that I love the most. And most people don't have it on the menu. But if I see a coffee machine behind the bar, I'm going to fucking ask for an espresso martini. And I'm getting so good at that, making the request. And 9 times out of 10, they can do it. And they bring me an amazing, beautiful espresso martini. And they're really happy to do that. But I think that some women listening even to the concept of that might be feeling like, oh my God, I'm already feeling like too much inconvenience. I'm already feeling ashamed, embarrassed. Oh, like it's not possible, you know? So like everyone listening, just notice if it's already activating something in you to ask for something that's not on the menu. And just notice those small stakes requests if they're already like, oh my God, that's too much. I can't do that.
This is a really good example because I've got a good example like that, which can tell us so much, right? Even before I started doing this work, like I love rosé wine, but it has to be very pale and very dry. So I'm going to try every one. If I don't know which one's the palest and driest, I'm going to try them on the menu because I'm not buying a glass of wine that I don't want to drink. Exactly like you. It's like, it's just such a waste. And I've been with people who've kind of cringed when I've done it, and they're like, oh, and they would say, you're bothering the waiter. Here's what I want you to say. Do you know that for fact? Yeah, because this is when you get involved in someone else's experience and you don't know that. And this is what Dob and Sum energy really taught me, because it's almost like saying that person might like being asked to do things. They might enjoy it. You're making up their experience for them, and it's not for you to tell them how they feel or tell me how they feel. It's for them to express themselves and their boundaries. And we're not asking them to do things that is outside their job role. Do you know what I mean? I think that would then you might have a right to be like, oh no, you can't just tell them to like get on the floor and start picking up your bag and things like that. No, we're not talking about that. But when you are in a very, very clean dom sub dynamic, you trust each other to communicate how you feel and what you need whilst also having a bit of attunement there, but not trying to guess their experience and mold your experience on the perceived idea of what they might be feeling, right? So that's a really good way of breaking the good girl conditioning, is understanding that. Stop trying to guess what somebody else feels, and because two people's perspective can be completely different as well. Good girls will always believe that other people are annoyed, disgruntled, resentful by their behaviors. Always. That will be your default. You're irritating people, you're annoying, you're asking for too much. The too muchness of asking, can I taste my drink before I commit to buying it? You know, it's not too much. It actually should be a standard.
Fuck yeah.
But the good girl will always tell you you're too much, right? And so it's like about being like, you know, if we're not too much, we're too little, right? And it's like, stop. Like, one of the great ways is to just track yourself and pause when you notice yourself trying to guess or putting on to somebody what they're feeling when you don't know.
Yeah. Oh my God. It really, like, the number one line that I hear from women that I just would love every woman to stop, and I call women out on this when they do this to me, is if you bump into a friend in the street, or if you're on the phone to a friend and they're like, oh, anyway, you're busy, or are like, oh, I can tell you've got a lot going on, so I'll let you go. And I'm like, no, like, what the fuck? Like, go if you want to go, but don't go because you think I want to go. I haven't told you that. And I think that being a coach and a mentor really teaches us to ask more questions. So I don't make I don't assume for my clients anymore. I ask permission. I ask questions. I ask how someone's feeling. I ask, do they feel complete with the conversation? Shall we, you know, if I'm done, then I'll tell you. And even clients pay us good money to support them and still feel inconvenient for asking for support. And I'm like, you've paid me for this, woman. Like, this is what I'm here for. So yeah, just every woman, like, please stop projecting onto others that they're done with you.
Sometimes it can be a way to kind of avoid the discomfort that we feel, you know. It could be like, you know, oh, don't worry, I'll leave, because it's like you feel so, and it's almost like it's that kind of like anxious energy that comes up in the nervous system gets expressed by this sort of over accommodating, right? Which we have in us as women, and it's just catching it. Dom energy. She stops talking. She centers in. She focuses on what she feels, right? Let's her sub or whoever know what they feel, and just that doesn't get involved. Doesn't make things up that aren't there. Clean energy, clean power.
Thank you. Yeah, this is really nervous system gym for anyone listening. I've been using that term recently, nervous system gym, like expanding your own capacity to hold your own discomfort so that we can come into that elegant dominatrix power that Amy has been embodying for this conversation. And that's really my work in triggering conversations with my partner right now. I really want to bring in more Dom energy into emotional moments and hold my power rather than going into fawning, anxiety, chasing him for reassurance that we're fine after a difficult conversation. Like, no, just sit with the fucking discomfort and be okay with it. No, it's no one else's job to fix that. And I think it's exactly what you said. We're normally avoiding the discomfort of setting a boundary with someone or saying, okay, I got to go now, bye, and not wanting them to feel uncomfortable. So we project onto them that they're done with us so that we don't have to be honest. And it's like the nervous system gym of actually being in your own discomfort is not easy. So yeah, it takes time.
Yeah. I love that phrase, because I think, and we're on a similar vein in terms of like the language around regulation, nervous system regulation, I feel could do with shifting to increasing capacity. And the only way to increase your capacity is to get uncomfortable. And I think we kind of it's probably necessary layer of it is like we want to be regulated and to feel comfortable and safe. And it's like, oh, if we want to kind of make the changes, we have to like go into the discomfort, go into the edges, and learn how to hold them, and then they soon become their normal. I say that to my students. It's like there would have been a time where coming onto a Zoom call and self-pleasure with a group of women felt like an edge. Probably felt like an unthinkable, and now it's your new normal, because that just becomes what's normal for you. And that doesn't mean you know go into spaces that just are wildly not aligned for you, or you know, but and just going to throw you into a state of, you know, disarray. But it's like knowing yourself and knowing your edges, and then like, oh, I kind of want it, but and it's like meeting the edge and letting that get a bit more comfortable. And then you expand. Your capacity expands for life, for eros, for experience, for pleasure, connection. Everything starts to expand.
Thank you, my love. This is such an incredible energy that I'm just so happy that you're bringing to the internet. I feel like it's a new conversation. You're founding it and you're embodying it so divinely. So thank you for bringing us, your inner dominatrix, today and inspiring us all.
Touching the mic again.
I know, she's right on your heart. I feel like you're going to your heart, and then just like, maybe the mic is meant to be in front of your heart for a reason, so we can all receive your heartbeat.
I like that.
So how can we find you? How can women in the audience find your work? How can they work with you to discover this archetype in themselves? Drop all of the shameless plugs.
All of the shameless plugs. Okay, you can find me on Instagram under Temple of the Feminine, and my website, templeofthefeminine.com. It's a little bit under, what's the right word? It's being updated anyway. So how you can work with me, if you are a facilitator of women's empowerment and you want to add erotic embodiment into your arsenal and support women in coming into this healthy relationships, sexual intimacy, erotic connection, dominatrix embodiment, I am offering a facilitator training that will start in November, and that's a 6-month facilitator training. This will be my 6th round, and this round will include more around kink energies and how we can use them not just in partnerships for maximized pleasure, but how we can use these energies as how we navigate life and step into our personal power. I'll also be bringing more around how our erotic energy and these kink dynamics and dominatrix submissive energies can really help support us in business and being women in leadership as well. So that's going to be 2 kind of edges that come into this training that are new for this cohort. And you can also work with me one-to-one. Just reach out to me. My one-to-one books have been closed, but I'm opening them up very soon. So just reach out to me if you want to explore that, and we can talk. So those are the 2 main ways of working with me.
Ooh, thank you so much, my love. Thank you for bringing your truth, your wisdom, all of the nuanced layers. I can really feel that you've been leading for a long time. You've got the experience, and you've gone to the layers that I really seek out in a space holder now, that are actually quite hard to find for those of us that have been in the game a bit longer. It's nice to explore with a facilitator like you. So thank you for bringing all of you here. I will drop all the links in the show notes for anyone that wants to explore Amy and her temple. I would highly recommend it. And yeah, we'll speak to you soon, I hope.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Charlotte. And, you know, the feeling's mutual. I have a mutual that has spoken about you very highly, and I see what you're doing and I see what you've been through. And I'm really grateful that you're in the world putting out what you're putting out.
Thank you, love. Oh, sisterhood, womanhood, sisterhood.